So, hello everyone. Now we will take a look at data types, variables, and literals in Java. We will understand each of them in great detail. So, let's start. So, now first let us understand the concept of data and its representation. So, what is data? So, by definition, data is any information we can use. So, any information in a real life can be data. So, the purpose of computers is to do activities relating to our normal living. Uh, let's take an example for that, like addition and multiplication of two numbers. This could be our activity we perform in our daily life. So, a computer can do that for us. So, the numbers here are our data. So, I hope it's understood the concept of data. I'll repeat, data is any information we can use, and the purpose of computers is to do activities like any activities like calculating that we do in our daily living. So, to do those activities, the computer would need our data so that it can process the data. So, for example, if you want to add two numbers, then the numbers would be a data that a computer would perform operations on. So let's move on. So representation of data in computers. So to do any activity, let's suppose addition of two numbers, computer will have to store those numbers somewhere. The computer needs to have the numbers to perform activities. So I hope it's understood that the computer needs to store the number to perform operations on it. So a computer has memory in which it can store. Just like humans have memory, a computer also has memory in which it can store data and perform tasks on that data. So I hope the concept of data is clear. Now let's look on data types in Java. So first, let us understand the meaning of data type. So we have understood that we represent our data in a computer memory. But how does a computer know what is the data that we have given it? So let us understand this by an example. So suppose we gave a number. Suppose we gave a number 6 in a computer program. So how does a computer know that what is this data and what does it have to do with this data? It needs some identification for this data that we have given to it. So that identification is the concept of data type. So a computer needs to identify what is the data given to it. It needs to know about the data which is stored in its memory so that it can perform operations on it. Speaking more precisely, it needs to know the type of data. See, here we have given 6 as our data. So the computer needs to know that we have given a number 6. It needs to know that we have given a number 6 to it. So speaking more precisely, it needs to identify the data given to it. Computer needs to identify the data given to it so that it can perform operations on it. So a computer needs to identify the data given to it so that it can perform operations on it. So just now we saw the example that suppose we have given a number 5. So a computer needs to know the type of the data. It needs to know that the data we have given is, suppose in this case the type of this data is numeric. We have given a number. So this is a number type of data. So a computer needs to know the type of the data that we have given to it. So this is the concept of data type. A data type is simply, it's pretty self-explanatory that data type is a type of data we have given in a computer program. So data type is the type of data given to a computer program. So in Java there are various types of data like byte, short, int, long, char, float, double and boolean. We will take a look at each of them in great detail. So let's move on. So now there are mainly two understandings or two classifications of data. A computer mainly understands two types of data. They are numeric data, more precisely numbers. So the number 6 here or any number we can give is falls under the category of numeric data. It is numeric. And then we have character data. Characters like our alphabets on our keyboard. So any and actually all alphabets like A, B, C, all alphabets fall under the category of character data. So a computer only understands two types of data, numeric and character. So the numeric types of data, so in mathematics or in a real living life, there are two types of mainly numbers we can have. Those are simple plain numbers, for example 1, 4500. These can be our simply understandable numbers. And then there are numbers with decimal points, like here we have an example 23.43. Then the value of pi, it can also be understood as a number with decimal values. And then we have here minus 8.0. So numeric data available in Java. So the Java has divided numbers into more specific categories, so we could work on it. Just as we saw that the data is divided into numeric and floating point, the decimal point data. The data we have is simple numbers and then decimal point numbers with decimal points. So this representation is done by Java so that we can perform our operations with betterment, and we would have ease of performing operations. So here we have various types of data, just as I said before, like byte, short, int, long, double, float. These represent the numeric data in Java. So now first let's understand signs of numbers. So in our real life numbers, we use signs with the numbers. So a number can mainly have a positive sign and we denote it with the plus sign, and a number has a negative sign, we denote it with the negative or the minus sign. So let's take an example of positive number. So a positive number could be 2, 4 or 8 or any number. The is simply a positive number. Then we have negative numbers. So the minus 2, minus 4, these are examples of negative numbers. And now let us understand bit and byte. So this is an important concept. So computer understands only zeros and ones. This is a highly important statement, and it is very much important to understand what this means. So a computer only understands zeros and ones. So computer understands only zeros and ones. So all of our data we have in our computer program. Like let's say suppose we want to represent the number 6 in our computer's memory. So we would have to convert these numbers into a sequence of zeros and ones. So it would look something like, so there are sequences of zeros and ones to represent data. So let's say, so this could be a sequence. So this is a sequence of numbers and this represents some data. So the representation of 6 is 0110. So this is a binary type of data, and it is understanding and explaining binary is out of scope of this video. But just understand that a computer represents all of its data in the sequence of zeros and ones. So it can either be 0 or 1. That's only thing the computer understands. Whatever data we give in our understandable form, it's converted into sequence of zeros and ones first, then it is processed by computer. So here if we consider a single 0 or 1, if we consider a single 0 or 1, then this is called as a bit. So a single 0 or 1, so we would have something to call these, it is a special name for 0 or 1, so we would call this bit. It is called bit. A single 0 or 1 is called single 0 or 1 is called as a bit. So we can have either the 0 bit or 1 bit. So I hope the concept of bit is understood. And now let us look on byte. Byte. So a sequence of 8 bits is called as a byte. So a sequence of 8 bits is called as a byte. So an example of a bit of a byte could be any 8 bits. So here as we can see that there are total 8 bits. So these 8 bits are together called as a byte. So just understand this, that a single 0 or 1 is said to be a bit, and 8 bits together is called as a byte. Like we have weight representations in our daily life, we have grams, and then a collection of 1000 grams is a kilogram. So like that we have 8 bits as a byte. Here, if we count, then there are 8 bits, and 8 bits are called as a byte. So computers understand only zeros and ones, meaning that all data and all of the stuff we have in a computers needs to be converted to a sequence of zeros and ones for a computer to understand. So for example, the number 2 is represented as 0010. So if a computer encounters the sequence 0010, then it would understand that we are trying to represent the number 2, and it will represent this sequence as the number 2. So this is only done using zeros and ones. So a single 0 or 1 is called as a bit. I'll repeat, a single 0 or 1 is called as a bit. A group of 8 bits is called as a byte. I'll repeat again. A group of 8 bits is called as a byte. So I hope bit and byte is understood. Now let's move on. So Java and number signs. So it is important to know that Java supports only signed integers. It means that any number we represent in a Java program has to has a sign. So if we represent the number 6, then we just cannot say that this number is a 6. We would have to say that either the number is positive 6 or a negative 6. So this holds true for all numbers. So in Java, every number is signed. It should compulsorily have a sign associated with it. So Java supports only signed numbers, uh, just as I said, meaning a number always has a sign. So the sign might be positive or negative, but the number always has a sign. So for negative numbers, it is compulsory to have the negative or the minus sign along with it. So if we want to represent a negative number, then we would have to represent it using -6. And for positive numbers, it is not necessary to have the plus sign or the positive sign associated with it. So if you want to represent a positive number, you could just write 6, and a computer would understand that we are representing a positive number. A computer would understand that we are representing a positive number. But if you want to represent a negative number, then we would have to compulsorily give a negative sign or the minus sign. This sign, the minus or negative sign, it is what helps the computer to determine whether a number is positive or negative. So for our ease of programming and ease of use, we can represent positive numbers without a sign, and if you want to represent negative numbers, then we should compulsorily use a sign with it. So I hope that is understood. Now for negative numbers, it is compulsory to have the negative sign, and for positive numbers, sign is not needed. Okay, so numeric data types. So now we will see the numeric data types in Java, or the types of numbers we can represent and use in Java. So we will take a look at each one of them one by one. So the data type byte. So it is the smallest integer type is byte. The smallest integer type is byte. So let us look further. This is a signed 8-bit type. signed and 8-bit. Signed, it means the number of type byte would have a sign associated with it, and it is 8-bit type. So 8-bit, just as I explained now, that a byte is 8 bits together. So a byte is 8 bits together. So we have byte as a representation of numeric data. So in 8 bits, so just as I said, any number gets converted into a sequence of zeros or ones. So here we have 8 blocks. So let us suppose that this represents a byte. So let's suppose that this is a byte. So when we here, as you can see, it has a range from -128 to positive 127, negative 128 to positive 127. So let us understand what that means. So just as I showed in the previous example, we represented the number 6 as 0110. So for every number there is a sequence of zeros and ones. So if we want to represent the number 2, then we have the sequence 0010. So this sequence represents 2, the number 2, then this sequence represents the number 6. So just like that, in 8 blocks or 8 bits we can represent total range of 120 -128 to 127. So this many numbers can be represented inside. So if we want to represent the number 1, so we can represent the number 1 in our byte category, because if we convert this 1 into a sequence of zeros and ones, then we would have 1 and then 0, 0, 0, 0, 0 and 0. So it is not necessary to know the binary code or the 0 and 1 sequence of every number. Just understand this concept. So we can represent any number as zeros and ones. So it is important to remember that. Only understands two types of data, numeric and character. So the numeric types of data, so in mathematics or in a real living life, there are two types of mainly numbers we can have. Those are simple plain numbers, for example 1, 45, 100. These can be our simply understandable numbers. And then there are numbers with decimal points, like here we have an example 23.43. Then the value of pi, it can also be understood as a number with decimal values. And then we have here minus 8.0. So numeric data available in Java. So the Java has divided numbers into more specific categories, so we could work on it. Just as we saw that the data is divided into numeric and floating point, the decimal point data. The data we have is simple numbers and then decimal point numbers with decimal points. So this representation is done by Java so that we can perform our operations with betterment, and we would have ease of performing operations. So here we have various types of data, just as I said before, like byte, short, int, long, double, float. These represent the numeric data in Java. So now first let's understand signs of numbers. So in our real life numbers, we use signs with the numbers. So a number can mainly have a positive sign and we denote it with the plus sign, and a number has a negative sign, we denote it with the negative or the minus sign. So let's take an example of positive number. So a positive number could be 2, 4 or 8 or any number, the is simply a positive number. Then we have negative numbers. So the -2, -4, these are examples of negative numbers. And now let us understand bit and byte. So this is an important concept. So computer understands only zeros and ones. This is a highly important statement, and it is very much important to understand what this means. So a computer only understands zeros and ones. So computer understands only zeros and ones. So all of our data we have in our computer program, like let's say suppose we want to represent the number 6 in a computer's memory. So we would have to convert these numbers into a sequence of zeros and ones. So it would look something like, so there are sequences of zeros and ones to represent data. So let's say, so this could be a sequence, so this is a sequence of numbers and this represents some data. So the representation of 6 is 0110. So this is a binary type of data, and it is understanding and explaining binary is out of scope of this video. But just understand that a computer represents all of its data in the sequence of zeros and ones. So it can either be 0 or 1. That's only thing the computer understands. Whatever data we give in our understandable form, it's converted into sequence of zeros and ones first, then it is processed by computer. So here if we consider a single 0 or 1, if we consider a single 0 or 1, then this is called as a bit. So a single 0 or 1, so we would have something to call these, it is a special name for 0 or 1, so we would call this bit. It is called bit. A single 0 or 1 is called a single 0 or 1 is called as a bit. So in a we can have either the 0 bit or 1 bit. So I hope the concept of bit is understood. And now let us look on byte. So a sequence of 8 bits is called as a byte. So a sequence of 8 bits is called as a byte. So an example of a bit of a byte could be any 8 bits. So here as we can see that there are total 8 bits. So these 8 bits are together called as a byte. So just understand this, that a single 0 or 1 is said to be a bit, and 8 bits together is called as a byte. Like we have weight representations in our daily life, we have grams, and then a collection of 1,000 grams is a kilogram. So like that we have 8 bits as a byte. Here, if we count, then there are 8 bits, and 8 bits are called as a byte. So computers understand only zeros and ones, meaning that all data and all of the stuff we have in a computers needs to be converted to a sequence of zeros and ones for a computer to understand. So for example, the number 2 is represented as 0010. So if a computer encounters the sequence 0010, then it would understand that we are trying to represent the number 2, and it will represent this sequence as the number 2. So this is only done using zeros and ones. So a single 0 or 1 is called as a bit. I'll repeat, a single 0 or 1 is called as a bit. A group of 8 bits is called as a byte. I'll repeat again, a group of 8 bits is called as a byte. So I hope bit and byte is understood. Now let's move on. So Java and number signs. So it is important to know that Java supports only signed integers. It means that any number we represent in a Java program has to has a sign. So if we represent the number 6, then we just cannot say that this number is a 6. We would have to say that either the number is positive 6 or a negative 6. So this holds true for all numbers. So in Java, every number is signed. It should compulsorily have a sign associated with it. So Java supports only signed numbers, just as I said, meaning a number always has a sign. So the sign might be positive or negative, but the number always has a sign. So for negative numbers, it is compulsory to have the negative or the minus sign along with it. So if we want to represent a negative number, then we would have to represent it using -6. And for positive numbers, it is not necessary to have the plus sign or the positive sign associated with it. So if you want to represent a positive number, you could just write 6, and a computer would understand that we are representing a positive number. A computer would understand that we are representing a positive number. But if you want to represent a negative number, then we would have to compulsorily give a negative sign or the minus sign. This sign, the minus or negative sign, it is what helps the computer to determine whether a number is positive or negative. So for our ease of programming and ease of use, we can represent positive numbers without a sign, and if you want to represent negative numbers, then we should compulsorily use a sign with it. So I hope that is understood. Now for negative numbers, it is compulsory to have the negative sign, and for positive numbers, sign is not needed. Okay, so numeric data types. So now we will see the numeric data types in Java, or the types of numbers we can represent and use in Java. So we will take a look at each one of them one by one. So the data type byte. So it is the smallest integer type is byte. The smallest integer type is byte. So let us look further. This is a signed 8-bit type. Signed and 8-bit. Signed, it means the number of type byte would have a sign associated with it, and it is 8-bit type. So 8-bit, just as I explained now, that a byte is 8 bits together. So a byte is 8 bits together. So we have byte as a representation of numeric data. So in 8 bits, so just as I said, any number gets converted into a sequence of zeros or ones. So here we have 8 blocks. So let us suppose that this represents a byte. So let's suppose that this is a byte. So when we here, as you can see, it has a range from -128 to positive 127, negative 128 to positive 127. So let us understand what that means. So just as I showed in the previous example, we represented the number 6 as 0110. So for every number there is a sequence of zeros and ones. So if we want to represent the number 2, then we have the sequence 0010. So this sequence represents 2, the number 2. then this sequence represents the number 6. So just like that, in 8 blocks or 8 bits, we can represent total range of 120 minus 128 to 127. So this many numbers can be represented inside. So if we want to represent the number 1, so we can represent the number 1 in our byte category, because if we convert this 1 into a sequence of zeros and ones, then we would have 1 and then 0, 0, 0, 0, 0 and 0. So it is not necessary to know the binary code or the 0 and 1 sequence of every number. Just understand this concept. So we can represent any number as zeros and ones. So it is important to remember that. So if we are given 8 bits or 1 byte to store whatever data we want to store, then we can store a total of 256 values in it, ranging from minus 128 to positive 127. So from negative 128 to positive 127, it totals to total 256 values, and this is the range. So in 1 byte or 8 bits of data, we can represent a total 256 numbers. So in 1 byte, we can represent 256 numbers from minus 128 to plus or positive 127. So in 1 byte, we can represent 256 numbers from minus 128 to 127. So if we want to represent, say, suppose the number 200. So as we can see that we know that every data or every number we want to use in a program needs to be converted into zeros and ones. So if we want to represent 200, then its zeros and ones sequence that is generated from the number 200, it has its length is greater than 8. So whatever zeros and ones would be generated from this 200, so their length would not be 8. So they would not fit in a given size of byte. So we cannot represent 200 into the data type byte. We can only represent this given range. So if you represent 127, then it can very well fit in these 8 bits or 1 byte. But even if we go 128, even if you want to represent 128, then the sequence of zeros and ones would exceed 8 bits or 1 byte. So we cannot represent any more values or any less values than this in a byte data type. So this is the smallest data type because it has the smallest memory given to it, or it only has 8 bits of data representation capacity, and it can hold only a small range of numbers. So it is the smallest integer type, and then this is a signed 8-bit type. So as we can see, we saw that every number has a sign. So the every number represented in data type byte also has a sign, and its range is from negative 128 to positive 127. Then variables of type byte are especially useful for working with stream or network stream. So whenever we are building applications using network stream, we have to transfer data on our network. Then the data type byte is used there. Then it is also useful when working with raw binary data that may be compatible with other Java's built-in types. So this is just an use of the byte. Then the data type or a variables. So we would see what variables mean in the upcoming section of the video. So just know this: byte variables are declared by the use of the byte keyword. The byte keyword is used to declare variables of type byte. So we would understand what variables means, but if we want to represent a byte number, then we would have to somehow tell a computer that we want to use a byte type of data. So we'll write byte, and then whatever name we want to give to our variable. So suppose byte my equal to 3. So here my is a type of data with value 3 and its type is byte. So I'll repeat. So here my is a variable with data 3 and the type of the data is byte. I'll repeat again. Here my is a variable with value 3 or data 3 and the type of this data is byte. So if you want to print this data, then for printing purpose we use the system.out.println statement. We would see this statement in detail later. So for now just know this, that if you want to print any data, then we use system.out.println, and in this parenthesis we pass whatever data we want to print. So I want to print my variable 3, so I would write like this, and when I run this, we got our output as 3. Let me rerun it. So we are getting our output 3. So just as we saw, the range is from minus 120. So if you want to represent negative numbers, as we saw, we add the minus or negative sign and then we write a number. So here I want to represent minus or negative 128. So I would write it like this. And then if I run this program, I would get the minus 128 as my output. So this minus 128 gets represented in our computer's memory under the name my, and when we are trying to access it, so we can access it or use it using the name which we assign to it here, and then our computer will know that we are trying to use this data and it will make it available for us. So here you can see that minus 128 is printed. So now if I cross the range and if I violate the range, so let's say I write minus 129 and try to run, then we are getting an error. So it says cannot convert int to byte. So we would understand this, but just know this, that when we cross the range we would get an error. Similarly, the range in positive is 127. So if I write the number 127, then it works fine. I can access and use the data 127. But suppose if I say 128, then again we would get an error. Just as I said, the sequence of zeros and ones of this number 128 exceeds 1 byte or 8 bits. So its sequence of zeros and ones is greater than 8, so it cannot be represented in the data type byte. So we need some another data type to represent this. So just as we saw that we can declare variables of type byte using the byte keyword, we can declare using the byte keyword. Okay, so I hope byte is understood. Now let's move on. Now we have the data type short. The name of the data type is short. So short is a 16-bit signed data type. So short is a signed and 16-bit. Signed means any number represented using the data type short must have a sign, and it is 16-bit data type. So 16-bit. So the amount of bits that can be fit into this is 16. So for short data type, we have 16 bits of memory. So short is signed and 16-bit data type. So 16-bit data type, what does this mean? So as we saw in byte data types, we were given only 8 bits to represent our data. In short, we are given 16 bits to represent our data. So we can have a sequence of zeros and ones with length up to 16. So we can have sequence of zeros and ones with up to length 16. So we can have sequence of zeros and ones with length up to 16. Then it has a range from minus 32,768 to plus or positive 32,767. So this is the range of data type short. So in 16 bits, so let's understand this. So in 16 bits or 2 bytes, we could say, because 1 byte is 8 bits, so 16 bits would be 2 bytes. So in 16 bits, we can represent the numbers from the negative 32,768 to positive 32,767. So the bit count of these numbers would be under 16 bits, and if we try to represent any number more than this, then we would get error, because the length of the bits needed to represent this would cross 16. So here I have declared a variable s with the value 3454, and the type of this is short. I have declared a variable s with data 3454, and the type of this data is short. So when I print this, I get 3454 as my output. So the value here is a type short, and it is under the allowed range of the data short, of data type short. So if I cross the given limit, so if I specify data as 32768, so this is the last number that could be represented in the negative numbers. So this number is acceptable under the type short, so a program works. But if I give a number even slightly more, just we increase the number by 1, and now we are getting an error. So see, we get an error because the number of bits that would be required to represent this number exceed the length 16. So we cannot represent this number using the short data type. We would need another data type to represent this. So short has a range from minus 32768 to plus or positive 32767. Then it is probably the least used data type. Short data type isn't used much. The reason we will see later. For now, just notice. So here are some examples of short variable declare. So we can declare variables in this fashion. Just as we saw here, we can either do this like this. We can declare the variable and assign value to it directly, or we can declare the variable like this and assign value to it later. So if I want to assign value later, I would say s, and then if I want to assign value to s, then I would say like this. So this is perfectly valid. So this works. So we can either declare using the earlier specified format or this format. Anyone works. So I hope the type short is understood. Now let's move on to the data type int. So this is the most important data type. This is the most commonly used integer type. So whenever we have to represent integer data, then we always use int type. So it is a signed 32-bit type. So what does this mean? So any number using int data type must have a sign. So it has a sign, and it is of 32-bit type. So what does this mean? That the length of bits available in type int is 32. So we can have 32 bits, and whatever numbers could be represented using 32 bits are allowed in integer data type range. So it has a range. So as you can see, it has very long range. So we can almost represent all of the numbers we use in a program using the int type. So that's why it is most commonly used integer data type. So if I want to make variable of type int, I would simply say int, and we can give any name we want and then a value. And if we run this, oh, I gave a wrong variable name here. It is a. So yes, just note this point too, that if you are trying to access any data which is not defined, then we'll get an error. Just as you saw that I tried to access the data of the variable s, which wasn't defined or declared anywhere in my program above. So when I tried to run this, I got an error. But if I say the variable a, then the program works correctly because my computer knows that there is some data defined with the name a, so it uses it. But whenever I try to use s, so the computer doesn't know what this s is, what is its type or anything. So the computer doesn't know anything about this variable named s, so we get an error. So we were trying to declare int type of data. So just as we saw, we can declare just like we declare byte and short, we can declare int and assign value to it. And just as we saw that if we try to cross these given ranges, then we would get error. So you can just try it out. So now we might be thinking that that you have understood the data types byte and short. So if you want to represent, let's say suppose a number 23. So if you want to represent the number 23, then what would be your choice? So in the order that we learned the data type, you would say byte, or maybe short. But by a reasonable thinking, you would say byte because it uses only 8 bits of memory. So we could save memory in this case and very well represent a number. Also, we can use short to represent it. So if we have a number 230 or 230, then we would use short to represent this number rather than int, because we would say that this would take less memory. So ultimately our memory space could be saved because a computer's memory is limited. So we would be saving memory, but there is a twist. So byte or short would be more efficient than using an int in situations, but there is a reason we don't use byte and short. So we don't use byte and short in this case. Whenever we want to represent integer type data, we always use int. And the reason behind this is that whenever byte and short values are used in an expression, they are converted to type int when the expression is evaluated. I'll repeat, they are converted to type int when the expression is evaluated. So what does this mean? So let's say suppose we have a byte type of data. Suppose we have this byte here of data type byte. So it would take 8 bits of memory, but whenever we are trying to use this in our program, what Java or what a computer does is it will add another 24 bits of zeros here. So adding those zeros won't change the value of whatever data is stored here. So if we have stored here 6, then adding these zeros wouldn't change the value 6, but a computer does this. So whenever it doesn't matter whether this is of type byte or this can even be short. So if this is short, then more 16 bits would be added, and so it would add 16 bits, and if we are using byte type, then it would add more 24 bits of data and convert this byte into int. So ultimately the number representation done in the computer's memory is of type int. So whatever we use, byte or short, 32 bits will always be consumed. We cannot save memory there. So we cannot save memory there. Byte and short data types get converted into int. So the reason is that when byte and short values are used in our expression, they are converted to int. So this is important to know from your Viva's perspective, or this is a must-have knowledge, because at times we would just simply use byte or short to represent our data values, but that wouldn't make any sense. So just as for standard convention purpose, always use int to store your integer data, because ultimately it would be converted into type int, and the 24 bits memory would be consumed anyways. So there is no point in using byte and short, because in some cases, if the data crosses the value, so we have the range of byte is 127, but if the data becomes 130, then we would get an error and our program would fail. So this also provides safety, wherein just as we saw before, the range of int is very large, so it doesn't matter even if very big numbers come into picture, int can handle them. So that's why byte and short are converted into int before they are evaluated. So when the expression is evaluated, byte and short are converted into int. So I hope all three types, byte, short, and int, are understood. We would see each of their usage in more details after we take a look at literals and variables. So let's move on. Now we will take a look at the data type long. So long is signed, so it has a sign, and it is 64-bit type. So you should understand now what does this mean. 64-bit types, it means that the number of bits we can use to store a long is 64. So 64 bits are given to us, and the range of data long can store is very huge, because a sequence of 64 zeros and ones in all of the combination would represent very large range of numbers. So whenever we want to use like very big numbers, we would use long as a data type. So an example could be if you want to represent the speed of light. So speed of light is very high, so it won't fit in an integer type. So we would use long to represent the speed of light. This is just as an example sake for you to understand. Just remember this, that there are 64 bits in a long type of data, and it is useful for occasions where an int type is not large enough to hold a desired value. We already saw that the range of int is very large, but if we have a number even larger than the range, then we would use long. So the range of long is quite large. This makes it useful when big whole numbers are needed. So we want to represent the data with very long values. So we would use the data type long. So if we want to represent data, so just replacing long with int, we replace int with long, and it works because long can very well store this data. So one important point to know here is, let's suppose that we have this bits representation of our any data stored. So let's say I am storing the number 1. So for storing the number 1, I would require the binary sequence, or the sequence of zeros and ones for 1. For the number 1 is 0001. So I would require only 4 bits to store the number 1. So what happens of this remaining 4 bits? So these bits are filled with 0. So all of these bits remaining are filled with zeros. So adding zeros doesn't change the value. Uh, one being present changes the value. So the value is determined according to the position of 1. So 1 here means a different value, and if we write 1 here, then it would mean a different value of the data. So to represent the number 1, we are just using essentially this one bit, or we could represent any two. So we are using this one bit. So what about the remaining bits here? So they are filled with zeros. So just as in case you might want to know this. So I hope the data type long is understood. Now let's take a look at the floating point data types. Just we saw earlier that we can even represent decimal data with decimal points. So if we have 1.23 to represent, we cannot represent this number in any of the type int or long or short or byte. So if I try to make int a as 1.23, then I would get this error because I cannot represent the numbers with decimal points into the type int. We need special data types to represent numbers with decimal points. So we have two data types for that. So we'll take a look at it. So a floating point is also known as decimal point. So just as we saw, this point here is called as floating point or a decimal point. So floating point data types are used when evaluating expression that requires factorial precision. Just as we saw that if you want to represent pi, the value of pi in a computer, then we would need floating point data types because we have to represent the number 3.14, say suppose. So to represent this number with the decimal point, we would need a data type for that. So floating point data types are used where uh, fractional precision is required. So calculations such as square root or sine or cosine, which results in numbers with decimal points, we would require floating point data types. So Java has two data types to represent floating point numbers. So let's take a look at them. So the first data type in the floating point type is float. So float data type is used to represent a single precision value. We would take a look at this, and it uses 32 bits of storage. So the length of bits in a data type float is 32. So there would be 32 bits present inside a floating number or any data of type float. So a data of type float will have 32 bits in it, and variables of type float are useful when we require to represent fractional component but don't require a large degree of precision. So let's say suppose we want to represent the number 1.1, or we want to represent the number 2.5. So these numbers have only one number after the decimal point. As we can see, only one number is present after the decimal point. So these numbers here have a single digit after them. So these are called single precision numbers. So single precision numbers are the numbers which have only one digit after the decimal point. So here after the decimal point there is only one digit. So these are called single precision numbers. So we can represent only single precision numbers in float data type. So value of let's say 1.6 would be valid in a float data type. So a float data type can have single precision numbers, and it is 32 bit long. So the sequence of zeros and ones would take 32 bits, or the length would be 32. So variables of type float are useful when we need to store fractional components, and but we don't require a very large degree of them. So if you want to store 5 to 6 decimal places, then we could use the data type float. So let's say we want to store the number 1.23456. So here we can see that if you want to store 1.2345, then here only 4 digits are there after the decimal point. So this could be called as single precision numbers, and if we want to store these, then we could use the float data type. But suppose we want multiple precision and double precision, and we want to store very long values. So let's say if we want to store this much digits, then float data type won't be useful. We cannot store a number with this much precision inside float data type. We would require another data type for that, and that data type is double. So if you want to go for 5 to 6 decimal places of accuracy, then we could use float. Otherwise we would have to use double. So the second floating point data type is double. So when we have to represent values with longer decimal places, we use double. If you want to represent 14 to 15 decimal places of accuracy, then we should go for double. So after the decimal point, if there could be 15 to 16 digits, and if you want to store this much accuracy, then we could use double. So double is 64 bits long. So it's important to know this, that the number of bits in a double data type is 64. So the sequence of zeros and ones is of length 64. So double has 64 bits, and its range is also quite large, just as we saw in the case of long. It could store very large values. Similarly, double can store very large values. So now we are done with the numeric data types. So let's just take a look at each of them. So first we saw byte. Byte is the smallest type of integer data type, and it has 8 bits in it, and its range is also quite small. Then we saw the short data type. It is signed. All the data types and numbers in Java are signed, and short has 16-bit length. Then its range is big enough, but it's still small to represent large values. Then we saw int. So int is the most commonly used data type. Commonly used data type, and it has a very large range. So the number of bits in it is 32, and we can represent very large number values using int. Then we saw another one more point, that usage of byte and short is not done, because the numbers byte and short are converted into int when the expression is evaluated. So ultimately 32 bits of memory is consumed anyway, so usage of byte and short is not recommended. Then we saw long data type. So long is signed 64-bit type. So the length of bits in long is 64, and hence long can represent a very large range of values. Then we saw floating point data types. So floating point is also known as decimal point, and Java has two data types for representing floating point numbers. The first one we saw is float. It is used for a single precision value, and it consumes 32 bits of storage, and we can represent 5 to 6 decimal places using float. Then we saw double. Double is used to represent very large values with very large decimal values, and if you want to represent values up to 14 to 15 decimal places, then we can use double. Then double is 64 bits long, So just like long, it can represent very long data range values. So we can represent very large numbers with floating points using the data type double. Then before we move on, there is one more important point to note about these data types. So if I declare a number, let's say float f equal to say 1.2, and if I try to print, then I get the error. I get a compilation error. We get here the error is type mismatch, cannot convert from double to float. So what does this error mean? So we have 1.2, and in float data type we saw that we can represent single precision value. So float can represent numbers up to 5 to 6 decimal places, and double can represent up to 15 to 16. So double can represent up to 15 to 16. So here we have value 1.2. But how does the program or the executor or the computer know that this belongs to float or double? Whether this value is of type float or double. So there needs to be some distinguish between this, because we can 1.2 can be assigned to float because it can represent up to 5 to 6 decimal places, and it can the value 1.2 can also be assigned to a double type because it double can represent up to 15 to 16. So in 15 to up to 15 to 16 we can represent 1.2, and also up to 5 to 6 we can represent 1.2. So there needs to be some distinguish whether the value we are trying to specify is of type float or double. So whenever we use a float, whenever we want to specify a float value, we use f, we use the lowercase f towards the end of the number. So now if I run this, I get the answer 1.2, because now the computer understands that this value 1.2 is of type float. How does it understand that? So we have given the number, the letter f. So whenever it encounters f, it understands that the value is of type float. So we don't get the error which we got earlier, which was of the type double. So it said that cannot convert from double to float. So it said cannot convert from double to float. It means that by default it considers the value as double, and if we want to tell that no, don't consider it as double, consider it as float, then we would need to give an f towards the end. So an f would indicate that the number is of type float. Then now if we want to represent double, then we would say double, and now we are giving the value 1.2 to the variable f of type double. So when we run this, we get the output 1.2, because by default a number is considered as double, and here our data type is double, so it simply gets assigned and we can use it. So there is no problem here. Another thing to note is, if I write this, so if I say the float variable f, and if I assign the value 100, and if I try to print this, then try to guess the output. Will this program run and we will get an output, or we would get an error? So take a moment to think and try to guess the output. So when we run this, we get 100.0 as our output. We are specified 100, and our output what we are getting is 100.0. But the number here we specified is of type it's an integer with no decimal value. So you might be wondering, how did it get converted to float, or how can float represent it? So sorry, how can double represent the number 100? So even if we try this with number float and execute this, we get 100.0. So this is an important point to note, that we can give values without any decimal point to float and double too. So we can give values without a decimal point to float and double. So we can give values without any decimal point to float and double. So what happens here is our computer understands that this value is without any decimal point, and it automatically adds the point 0 to it. So just as we saw here, we got the output as 100.0. So this point was added by a computer to the number, so to represent a fractional value. So since we can represent only fractions using we can use represent only decimal values using this. So there needs to be a decimal point here, but for our ease and convention, it is done automatically. So even if we specify a number like this, 100, it would get converted into 100.0, a value with decimal point automatically, and we aren't bothered to do it. So it is important to know and remember this. So even if we make this as double, we would get the same output because it would get converted into a decimal point or floating point value. Okay, so now let's move on. Now we will see the character data type. Just as we saw earlier, so just as we saw earlier, our computer understands two types of data, numeric and character. So we saw all the numeric data types available in Java, and now we will see the character data type. So data type char. So char. So if you want to represent a character data, then we would have to use char. So but first, let us understand what is a character. So character, an example of character could be the alphabets on our keyboard. So here A could be a character, B, C, anything could be a character. So if you want to represent these characters, so if I want to represent a single A into my program, then how would I do it? So I would use the data type char for it. So in Java, the data type used to store characters is char. A key point to understand is that Java uses Unicode to represent characters. So just as we saw that we would represent the, so we can represent characters using the char data type. So we can represent characters using the char data type. But as we have seen earlier, but as we know that the data representation in computers is done using zeros and ones. So we would need to convert this character A into a sequence of zeros and ones. So for doing that, there is the character A isn't directly converted into zeros and ones. Our computer uses a mapping. So as we have seen earlier, computer understands only zeros and ones, so the characters are needed to be converted into zeros and ones for the computer to be understood. So what is been done is there is there is a standard called as Unicode. So what is Unicode? So in Unicode, every character is assigned a number to represent it. So there is a standard called as Unicode, and in Unicode every character is assigned a number to represent it. So what does this mean? So if we want to represent the number A, so if you want the character A, then it is represented using the number 97. Then if we want to represent the character B, then then number 98 is used to represent the character B. So the representation of A, as we saw, is 97. So when we write A in a program, what would happen is the computer or a Java has a mapping. So it would see that the character A is specified. So it would look for the equivalent numeric value of A. So equivalent numeric value for small or lowercase a is 97. So it would tell the computer that I want a character which is mapped by the number 97. So a computer would understand that we are trying to represent the character A by the number 97. So this is done for all characters present in all languages. So all of the characters we see on our keyboard are represented by some codes. So it is important to remember that lowercase characters. Here we saw that this A is lowercase. So lowercase characters start from 97 and uppercase characters. So the uppercase A would start from 65. So and the later digits and numbers just increment by 1. So if you want to represent, it would be 66 and it would just go on till Z. So it is important to know the Unicode representation of characters. So these codes, this 97, 98, it is called, they are called as Unicode values. So we'll take a look at them further. So in a key point to understand is that Java uses Unicode to represent characters. Unicode defines a fully international character set that can represent all characters found in all human languages. So Unicode, these codes, so like this 97 and 98, so all the codes that are available, these codes can represent all of the characters found in human languages. So it doesn't matter that the language is Latin, Greek, Arabic, Hebrew or anything. All the characters found in any of these languages are represented using Unicode. So even the characters in the English language are represented using Unicode. And just as we saw that there are Unicodes for lowercase a it's 97, for b it's 98, similarly for uppercase 65 and 66 for a and b. So for each and every character present uh, inside all of the languages around the world, there is a equivalent code. So if we suppose say the character equal to, so if we consider this equal to sign, even this has a code associated to it, and it is represented using that code inside a computer. So at the time of Java's creation, Unicode required 16 bits. Thus Java char is a 16-bit type and the range is 0 to 65,566. So let us understand this. So when the Java language was created, at that time Unicode required 16 bits. So just as we saw earlier, that in the data types byte, short, int and long, they all had some number of bits in the sequence. So the sequence of zeros and ones in representing a character data type takes 16 bits. So the sequence of zeros and ones is of length 16. So the length of these zeros and ones in representing any character would be 16. So a char data type takes 16 bit of memory. So the Java char is of type is 16 bit. So it takes 16 bits to represent one character. So the character, suppose say A, then this A would consume 16 bits of memory or 2 bytes of memory inside the computer's memory. I'll repeat. So the character A will consume 16 bits of memory. And there are no negative characters, just as we saw that these numbers could be positive or negative. But for characters, the just as we saw that there is a mapping that maps every character to a number. So all the characters are mapped to positive numbers. There are no negative number mapping to any characters. Then the range is 0 to 65,536. So all of the characters present in all of the languages. So if we count them, then they total up to 65,537. So 37 are there in total, and since we are starting from 0, so we would consider it till 6. So from 0 to 65,536. So now let's see an example of type char. So if I want to declare a char type variable, I would say char c, and if I suppose if I want to give the value a, so if I give the value a and I try to run this, we would get an error: a cannot be resolved to a variable and f cannot be resolved to a variable. So f is just as I explained. If we try to access a variable that hasn't been defined, we would get an error. So I'm trying to access the variable c here, so I would get an error. But this a, just as I have specified c here, this a, whether to consider this as a variable or to consider it as a character value. So how does a computer know what to consider this? So for this distinguishing purpose, we give the numbers in single quotation. So all the characters represented in a program are needed to be given inside single quotation marks. So as you can see here, there are single quotes surrounding this letter A. So now a computer would understand that we are trying to use the character A, so it would understand and it would provide us with the character A. So this could be anything. So if you want to suppose give the character R, so if we do this, it works. So what happens internally is our program encounters the character R, then it searches for equivalent mapping. So the mapping for R is 115 or 115. So this R would be represented by the value 115. So this R gets converted into this 115. So a computer will look inside its mapping table that what is the number value, numeric value for the character R. Then it would pass on this number, and this 115 would be get converted into a sequence of zeros and ones, and hence represented inside our memory and used by a computer. So I hope this is understood. So now let's see an example. So now if I try to give assign a number 65 to this char type variable c, so what do you think would the output be? Would we get any character or would we get an error? So let's try. So we are getting the character a. So just as I have explained that the uppercase character a is mapped using the number 65. So if we are passing the number 65 to a character type of variable, then Java would automatically understand and map the equivalent character to this number. So I'll repeat. So if we pass a number to as a value to a char type variable, then Java would automatically understand that we are trying to use a character value, and it would automatically give the character equivalent of this value here. So just as we saw, we can use the value a here because it the number 65. Now we will take a look at booleans in Java. So now we will understand booleans in Java. So booleans represent two values, true and false. So if you want to represent true and false in a program, then we would need to use the boolean data types and boolean values. So let's look into it. So the data type boolean. So boolean data type is used to represent boolean values in Java. So boolean values are true and false, and it is important to know that it doesn't have any fixed size. Its size depends on the physical machine. So just as we saw in the case of previous data types like int and char, there were sizes. Particular the data was occupying sizes in bits, the sequence of zeros and ones. But in the case of booleans, there is no fixed size. It depends from machine to machine, every physical machine, and the operating system that we are using on it. So It is handled internally by Java, and its size isn't a concern to the programmer, and the only values allowed in Boolean are true and false, and which are case sensitive. So it is important to know that both of these values, true and false, are in lower case, and writing any of the character in uppercase would result in an error and would not work as a Boolean value. It would take a complete another meaning. So let's look up Boolean in the code now. So here I have a Boolean variable b with the value assigned to it as true. So now if I print the variable, try to guess the output, what will I get? So when we run it, we get the output as true because the value of this variable is true. Now if I set the value as false and run the program, I would get answer as false because the value of this variable b of type Boolean is false. So now, just as I said that this true and false are in lower case, and the values are case sensitive. So if I try to give true here with the starting t in uppercase, so when I try to run this, I get an error. True cannot be resolved to a variable since it cannot find any meaning for the word true. It will try to search a variable with that name, and since it cannot even find a variable with that name, it will ultimately give us an error. So similarly with false, even if we give all uppercase, we are bound to get an error. Yes, just like the previous one, false cannot be resolved to a variable, so it must be compulsory in lowercase only. So the Boolean variables are used in decision-making statements. About them we will learn in future sections. So for now, just know this, and whenever using Boolean values, always remember to give the proper case. And here also the data type Boolean, all small. In fact, all of the data types we saw, int, float, char, double the, all of these data types we saw, all of them are in lowercase. None of them, the data type name is in uppercase. So always remember to give them in lowercase, and the variable names, these names A, B, F, C, D, this follows Java's naming convention. We will take a deeper look in the convention in the later videos. For now, we will be using lowercase variable names only until we see the naming conventions. And in the end, we have a semicolon. This semicolon symbol is used to indicate end of a statement. So we have this semicolon symbol. It is beside the enter key on our keyboard. So this is used to indicate the end of a statement. So whenever a program executes, it goes line by line. So it will first come into our code file, and it would see the first line, then it would execute, then it would go to the second line, then third, then fourth, and so execution is done line by line of program. So whenever we have to so how does the program determine that a line has ended? So for that we use semicolon. Whenever it encounters a semicolon, it concludes that a line has ended, and it will execute everything before the semicolon, because it needs to execute this complete statement of first it has in this statement, the work to be done is to make a boolean variable, a variable b of type boolean with value false. So it has to do these operations, so it needs to go complete statement in one go, because if it takes only boolean, then b, then assignment, then false, then it would be confused and would not know what to do with these individual values. And if there isn't any separator, and after this if we write there is something called int and other statements continue, then it won't be able to conclude that where a proper statement has ended. So to indicate end of statements we use semicolon. So in Java a semicolon is must at the end of a line, and if we don't use a semicolon, then we will get a compile time error. Yes, syntax error. We are getting a syntax error inside semicolon to complete block statements. So we have to insert a statement, a semicolon here. So the error structure. So exceptions occur. We will take a look at exceptions in later videos. But for now, we see that not giving semicolon results in an error. So, and when we give semicolon, everything is proper. Our code runs fine. So now let's move on. So we saw the data type boolean. Now here the sizes of data type, numeric data types, ranges, and their sizes. So the numeric data types we saw long, int, short, and byte, and each of the sizes are given. So long is of length 64, length or width, so it has 64 bits. So using sequence of 64 bits, we can represent this much big numbers. So the range of long is quite big. And then we saw int has a length of 32 bits, and we can represent this much big range of numbers using int data type. Then we saw short. So short has this range. And then we saw byte. So byte has length 8, and it can represent a small range of values. Again, we saw something important, that using byte and short is not preferred, because ultimately the byte and short values get converted into int values. So the 32-bit memory is anyways occupied. So this 16 plus another 16 is added, and in this 8 another 24 is added to make it 32, and then the expression is evaluated. So short and byte internally get converted to int, so there is no point in using short and byte. We just use simply int, because if the range of the value increases and exceeds this short and bytes range, then we might get an error. So to avoid that, we simply use int and do not use short and byte. So now let's take a summary of all the data types we saw. So we saw numeric data types. So first we saw byte. So first we saw byte data type. It is the smallest integer type. Then it is signed. All of the numbers in Java are signed. It is 8-bit in length, and then its range. And the byte type variable is declared using the keyword byte. And we also saw examples for declaring byte type variables. Then the data type short. So short is signed just like everyone, and then it's 16-bit in length, and then we saw its range with examples, and its least used data type in Java along with byte. Then here are some examples of declaration of short variables. Then we saw the most common data type int. It is a 32-bit in length, and we saw range of int. And then we saw that byte and short get converted into int type, so there is no point in using byte and short. Then we saw the data type long. Long is 64-bit long and can represent very large range of values. And then we saw floating point data types. So a floating point is also known as a decimal point, and numbers which contain a decimal point or floating point are decimal point numbers. So these data types are used where we require fractional precision, and Java has two data types for representing floating point numbers. The first one amongst them is float. So float is a single precision, and it uses 32 bits of storage just like int. And variables of type float are useful when we need a fractional component which does not require very large degree of precision. We have seen this in example. So float is used for decimal precision up to 5 to 6 places. Then we saw the data type double. So double same as long. It is 64-bit long in length, and then it can represent precision up to 14 to 15 decimal places, and we use double when we want to represent values with longer decimal places. So float can store integral as well as floating point value, float and double both. So we saw this point where float and double both, we store integral and floating point values in them. Then we saw the character data type char. So whenever we want to represent characters, we use the char data type. Then we saw about Unicode and the number to character mapping, and then we saw that the Unicode characters have mapping for all of the major languages. Then we saw that Unicode is 16-bit long number, and then we saw the range of Unicode, and the error we get when we exceed the range, then it is 16-bit in length. So then we saw the Boolean data type. So Boolean represent two values, true and false. So whenever we want to use booleans in a program, we would go for boolean data type. So boolean, then we saw that the true and false values of the boolean are case sensitive, and they should always be in lower case. Then we saw the ranges of all the numeric data types.